Robert Stewart, who is content is being sent to a third party. Zoom is giving me warnings. Robert Stewart, welcome, Robert. If you're on here, throw it up in the chat. Say, hey, Robert. Let's give him a hearty welcome. And then we have Jesse, who has joined us based out of the Mission Valley office. And Kathy as well has joined us this week. So let's welcome Robert, Jesse, and Kathy this week to the Keller Williams San Diego group. So happy to have you with us. And does anyone have a bucket fill to start off our day? Something good. Tell me something good to share from your world of life and business.
I wanted to fill Amy's bucket. I don't know if she's on quite yet, but she was kind enough to invite me to do an open house this past weekend, and we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was so good to hang out with her again, and we haven't done one in a long time together. And yeah, it was awesome. Got some good leads, and I think she's got an offer on the table out of it too. So
nice, love that. For anybody who doesn't know, our lender colleagues here will always help when able to run open houses and be of service for that. And we know you guys do a great job with that. So thank you for that. And I don't see her yet, but we will make sure. I feel like she was out to lunch with her mom today. Anybody else want to share before we move on to celebrations? I want to make sure anyone gets a chance to get heard.
I've got a bucket too, Sarah.
Oh,
I just want to say thank you everyone again for contributing to our kickoff potluck, New Year's potluck last week. So that was great. I didn't see a lot of dessert, so that made me happy. I'm pretty sure like other people want to kill me for that, but thank you very much. And I think our dear Bridget will be announcing the next one coming up in her turn. So thank you again.
Awesome. All right, y'all, if you want to share any other good news, please drop it in the chat and we will be happy to celebrate alongside of you. For now, we will move on and celebrate the KW SoCal Regional. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Keller Williams region that we are a member of is SoCal, Southern California, which is Orange and San Diego counties. So that's our region. And our very own Summer Fruit group, John and Daryl showed up on the top in the region. And when you're looking at that, that's out of over 4,000 agents in those two counties that make up this group. So congratulations to John and Daryl and the Summer Fruit group for being number 5 teams closed volume and number 3 teams closed units for the end of the year. Congratulations. And the rest of the awards, people like to keep it quiet at the end of the year and hold on to details until the award celebrations come out. So stay tuned for all of that good stuff coming your way. Tomorrow, we have our second installment of the 75 Thrive training. That's part of our Q1 goings on. So we have Emily from ALC who will be in person, masterminding and discussing. Adam Boxman, you can read about him on there. He is a crushingly successful, awesome buyer's agent in the Pennsylvania area. And he's going to come on and share his story, his way he works his business, all the things that helps him be successful in his business. So come on over. It's going to be in the first floor training room. Emily will be there as well. I believe some of our coaches will be on hand. And, if you want to work with buyers and you want to learn how to be better with your buyers, then this is for you. If you don't want to work with buyers, this is not for you, and please don't attend. But if you do want to work with buyers, come listen to Adam and get his takeaways for how to be better in his business. And then next week, we have our very own Bridget talking about her niche of the business, which is divorce. And so you'll see stuff coming on that. Again, if you want to come support Bridget and attend and listen, then you're going to be free to do that. If divorce or working on a niche like that has been something you're interested in, then you're going to want to do that. Otherwise, as these Thursday sessions go on, you're going to come to the ones that pertain to your business, just like with all of our teachings, right? You're not necessarily going to come to every single one. So look at it and decide based on what it is. And if you're not sure, go ahead and ask. Evie, did you want to share about the Sonia concert coming up?
I'll actually have Ashley say something about Sonia because she's a special guest that we're having next Thursday.
Okay.
So yeah, next Thursday at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a little special event that you all are welcome to join us at. We've had several of our agents taking my course called Discover Your Destiny. And I was able to hire a good friend of mine who's a songwriter and performer a couple years ago to write 3 songs for this particular class. But she's been in the music business for 40 years and does a lot of liberal-minded progressive folk music. Anyway, she's gifting me a small performance at the Market Center for anybody who wants to come out. And I believe Mona from Home Warranty from Old Republic is going to be providing some snacks, and we'll just hang out and have a good time.
Awesome. Who doesn't love a little evening concert celebration on a Thursday night? That's next week. And then for anyone who attended Sal's team meeting where we did the interview, the one-on-one behind the scenes, that's going to be something that exists every month, all of 2024. So we're going to be interviewing one-on-one with each of our ALC members. That's the Agent Leadership Council for anyone who isn't aware, otherwise known as like the board of directors for our office. And our first one up for 2024 is our very own Amy Bloom, who actually increased her business last year and her numbers went up in almost every category. So Evie, I see it says the 31st. Is that next week though, the 24th, I think, the in-person?
Sorry, you're right. My head is a little advanced.
Okay.
24th for Amy, and then we'll have another speaker on the 31st. Sorry, that was
Okay.
my boo-boo.
That's okay. So next week we're gonna hold it in person because it is that one-on-one interview, and that was some of the feedback you guys shared after the Sal conversation was how cool would it be to be in the room and have that conversation in the room. So next Wednesday, team meeting in the room at Metro with Amy Bloom. Come learn how she's built her business, what she's done over the years, how she's a master at her database, she builds events, all the things. We'll post more about it as the week goes on. And then she's agreed to stay after and do a little mastermind Q&A session independently afterwards. So we're excited for that. And then know that that's coming out this year, every month. I'll be interviewing one of our ALC members for that conversation. So that's exciting. Get your questions ready. That's going to be so fun. And Mondays with Mark, did it officially start? Oh no, we were off this week. So it officially launches this coming Monday. And this is something from Mark. Do you want to share a quick minute about it, or do you want me to talk for you?
You can go ahead and explain it. It's something new that we're starting to try and help, answer questions people come up with. I just dropped the invitation in the chat. Free form, open 30-minute Zoom, bring your question, watch a demo, be very, informal, and hopefully we'll have some fun doing it.
I love it. Mark had this idea. He came and said, like, I'd love to give back more and help bring more clarity and understanding for our agents, whatever level you're at, whatever questions you have with forms and documents and clarity. And think about it as like if your professor had office hours and you could drop in and ask questions, that's what this is. So Mondays with Mark, take advantage of this, you guys. He is a treasure trove of information and there is no wrong question. Alicia, I see your hand is up.
I see that we only have 32 people in here, which is really light for risk management. And I'm getting people asking if we have changed the passcode.
Nope, it's still the same.
Okay. Thanks.
The time hold on, I just lost my document with that. It is 11 a.m. is the Mondays with Mark, correct, Mark?
Right. We tried to make it so that it was going to be the same time, even with the time change and everything like that. So 11 a.m.
Perfect. So it starts this coming Monday and it'll be every Monday going on from there, and come in and ask questions. I really want you to understand, like, there's no wrong questions. So please show up and ask the things that you're thinking of. Okay. And then I can't believe it, but we are rapidly approaching family reunion. It is at the end of February in Las Vegas. The prices do go up, I believe the 23rd. Is that right,
Yep.
Evie?
Yes, 23rd.
The 23rd, they go up to $9.99 for the ticket. It is the 25th through the 29th. It's many days. And about that, I'll just say the agenda is already posted. The breakout topics are already posted if you go to the events page and look at it. If you don't know, the keynote speakers are Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins. So if you're thinking like, oh, I can't do all the days, you're going to want to look at the agenda and see what days could you do. If you're a gambler, then that's not supposed to be funny because it's in Vegas. Sometimes people are selling tickets that like bought a ticket but can't go at the end, and there's a Facebook page where that happens. Sometimes if you're someone who wants to know your details and wants to book your room through the room block and all that good stuff, you're gonna want to go right to the events page and register for your ticket and know that you're getting Gary Keller, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, and endless other genius speakers and awesome humans. I know I got word already that our very own Bridget Potterton will be back on a panel this year with a different topic, and I'm sure there'll be others coming out as they just started making those announcements coming soon. So it's going to be February in 5 seconds. So, yep, 33 registered so far from our office. It's Vegas. You can drive. You can fly for cheap. You can get a hotel room that's not in the room block, that's someplace else. I promise you, you can't understand the value of this event until you actually attend yourself. Does anybody who goes want to share anything for clarity? Because me talking about it is kind of like your mom who's annoying, but like an agent perspective might be interesting. Anyone?
Well, I have something to say. So I've been, hi, I've been to many, and every time I go, it just gets better and better. I think probably because I learn, what to expect and what I can do better to get the most out of it, and then getting other people's feedback, but really, not only do you get a choice, and there's so many choices in the breakout sessions that sometimes you want to go to all of them, but and there's so many choices that you really have an opportunity to zone in on what you would like to improve in your business and go to that. And then the networking opportunity is amazing, and I've really just started to focus in on that the last couple of years. I was not as focused in the networking as I was in the early years. In the early years, it was more about the breakout sessions. And now I'm learning that it needs to be a combination of both. And for my business, particularly, the networking aspect is fantastic. And I've gotten referrals from agents who I've met at the family reunion.
And that's what I was going to say. The reality is you should have this paid for and more by going and connecting with other agents, because San Diego is a place where people come and move on purpose. So take advantage of our location and go meet people and learn. We will have a meeting beforehand that helps with like what to know and what to expect for anyone who's like, I want to go, but I'm scared. And for any of our experts, we already know what to do and you don't have to worry about it. But ask the questions. We're here to answer them. There is a lot of value and knowledge and education that comes out through this office. And if it's over your head or you're not clear on where it's helpful for you, please raise your hand, because we don't know you're having a question if you don't ask out loud. Okay. Eddie, Matt, I see both of you. Who's talking today?
What's up, everybody? So I'm gonna be real short and sweet. Just wanted to remind you guys that we are picking up. Like, we are keeping really busy right now. Rates have come down, you guys. Like, we just locked somebody in at 6% on a VA loan. 6%, like, come on, right? 7%, it was a conventional loan with 20% down. I mean, these rates are great right now for where they've been for the past year and a half. And the word is finally trickling out there, and people are getting off the couch, and they're finally reading like, hey, mortgages are starting to pick up. Prices are going to keep going up. Like, the Fed is done like raising rates. So all of a sudden, like, people are coming out of the woodwork. You guys, we're working when you guys are working. You have a call in the evenings you need to make, and call us. We'll pick up. On the weekends, like Christine or Kareem, you just ping me on the side. But look, I will come out with you guys. Matt will come out with you guys on the weekends. Like, we both need to build our businesses, and we're here to support you guys. So please, if there's cost of waiting reports that you need, if there's mortgage cost analysis, if there's whatever it may be, just having a conversation with somebody, getting a second opinion, doing an open house, like, hit us up. My back is finally better. I am ready to help and get back out there with you guys full time. Like, I'm here. Matt's here. So please utilize us. Call us. whenever you need us, we'll do whatever we can to support you guys. You know that.
Thank you,
I
Eddie.
love you guys.
We appreciate that. If you, yeah, thanks for talking to my clients on the weekends, Jacqueline said. What Eddie just said is important. If you want a cost of waiting analysis or something to like use collateral with your clients, reach out to Matt and Eddie and ask for it. If you want something but you don't even know what it is, say, hey, I have this need. How can you help me meet it? Right? They are here to help you grow your business and capture more business.
And sometimes those cost of waiting analysis, they'll get somebody off the ledge. Like Deb I just gave one to her the other day. And she's like, these people have been renting for what was it? Like 12 years, something ridiculous like that. And like, they could have paid off half the place by now.
No, 30. They've been renting for 30 years.
30 years, like that. Oh, it hurts.
I'm no joke making one right now for Bridget's open house this weekend on the other screen. So use us, guys. We're here.
Yeah.
Sometimes awesome. People just don't know what the numbers look like. And when they see it, they're like, what the hell have I been waiting for all these years? So now's the time, you guys.
Thank you both very much. And Jacqueline is going to be talking to us, y'all, today for Escrow Partners and talking about her exciting new part of life with us. So go ahead, Jacqueline.
I am. And I don't know if I made it in time for the deadline, but I did send one quick slide over to Evie just for one special little agent spotlight moment. And as she's looking for that slide that just came into her email, there'll be more coming out on this, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I am assisting Escrow Partners in getting some of the marketing pieces out and just helping in general with some of that side of the business. So I will be reaching out. I will have more specific information for you at upcoming team meetings so that you guys know how to reach out to me, how to get on my calendar if you have questions about what it's like to work with Escrow Partners. But all of that is going to be something that I'm talking more about as we go forward. So I just wanted to let everybody know that you had me as a resource for that as well. So if you have a listing that is coming up or you need something from Escrow Partners and you weren't quite sure because links changed in the new year, please let me know.
Is that it? Here we go.
I could talk long enough. So I just want to do one quick agent spotlight to Dan Becker. He opened escrow with Escrow Partners yesterday. So a great way to start out 2024. I'm sure he is busy working on getting all of that ready to go. But congratulations, Dan. What a fabulous start. We are excited to see all of that happening this year. So more to come from me soon. And congratulations, Dan.
Awesome.
Can I give a quick shout out to Nicole at Escrow Partners? May I give a quick shout out? So I've worked with Nicole many, many times now, and I absolutely love her. She's always on it. She has saved a couple of my transactions from going a little crazy, and she's just amazing. She's always makes herself available, and I wanted to give that huge shout out to her. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Corrine. We'll always love joyful news to be shouted from the rooftops. Thank you for that. And Bridget, let's hear from you on the Culture Committee update.
Yes, a very delayed apology to all of you. We had an awesome holiday party thanks to our very own Evie Eves organization skills. The feedback this year was amazing. So great job, Evie. We are so sorry that you were a little under the weather and couldn't enjoy it, but we enjoyed it all for you. And then my apology is to our winners of the costume contest, the ugly sweater contest. We had some amazing contenders. I want to give a couple of honorable mentions. First of all, to Tinu, if you guys didn't see her outfit, as always, I would expect nothing less from her than going 110% in her fashion. And other honorable message was our very own Mrs. Claus, Nikki Francis, for always dressing the part. But our winners this time, who are going to be getting a gift card from our vendors, or I should say our SMPs, our strategic marketing partners. The first one is for our very own money man, Eddie, with I would say probably one of the more inappropriate ones, I think, if I recall. But anyway, a lot of people liked your inappropriateness. Go figure in this office. And so congratulations, I'll get you your gift card. And then the other winner was actually a combo of Corrine and Paul with their super cute matchy sweaters. So yay, there he is. Hey, Paul. So congratulations to you three. I'll make sure, let me know next time you guys are gonna be in the office, maybe for a team meeting or something, I'll get you your sweaters. So congrats. And then next up, Eve has been in full mode for potlucks and bringing the community together. So she is so excited. We're going to do one for Valentine's Day. Our team meeting happens to be on Valentine's Day this year. So come one, come all. And it'll be 12:30 on Wednesday, the 14th. Bring your favorite dish that you love as long as it's not a dessert. So main dishes, Eve might ask last minute for maybe like drinks or things like that, but main dishes, side dishes, that's what we need. So keep in mind that. And also shout out to the culture committee. I didn't ask any of you to be on the culture committee again, just because I went ahead and automatically signed you all up. I don't know that any of you realized that it was going to be a 20-year commitment when you joined me on the culture committee years ago, but seriously, I appreciate you all. Kathy Jackson, Amy Bloom, and Claudine, who is the OG on the group. I appreciate you all. And of course, we'd be nothing without our Eve. Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you to the whole culture committee for adding that loving, joyful energy to all of our events. It really goes a long way, and I know so many of us appreciate it, so thank you. Broker update and coaching spotlight. Let's go.
Alicia, you're up.
I was like, is it Robert or Aisha talking?
I didn't realize I was doing it, but yay! Sam and Yanni just signed up for another year of growth coaching with me. Love them. They're up here every week, guys. Oh, and Perry got her first BRBC signed, and she's with the signature office. She's in launch with me.
Awesome work. So many good things happening. Sam and Yanni diving into year 2 and growth is amazing. And Perry's been with us for all of like, I don't know, 10 days or something and got her first BRBC signed. So congratulations all around. And Robert, talk fast, friend, because I used a few of your minutes up. Take it away, Broker Bob.
Well, hello, everybody. I am in the North Pole right now, in case you guys did not know. I'm in the frozen tundra. It has been negative 35 where I live. And it is awful, and we won't have anything. So and it's in the entire country. So if you've got people in not only Chicago, but even as far down as Houston, they're getting just hammered. It's dangerous, but I'm still freezing. I get to go out once a day. I walk to the gym, but I got to be very careful on the sidewalks because it's nothing but ice. And I've got layers and layers on top of me, so I look like a snowman. Anyway. I hope you guys are enjoying sunny San Diego. I hear it's like in the 60s. So enjoy that. I heard Ashley on her Facebook the other day complain that it was like 35. That's a heat wave to me. We're going to get in the 20s this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, it's my fault. I'm here. I know. Tell me. So we're going to get into some risk management. I appreciate everybody here. If you guys want to turn on your cameras, I'd love to see your beautiful faces, because it's almost as if you're in the room with us. And I will be out in San Diego the week before family reunion. So I'll be there that week. So look for that. I'll be in the house. So hopefully I'll be able to see some of you guys before we go up to Vegas. I just booked my tickets today. So I'm looking forward. I miss everybody so much. And I'm missing human contact because we're kind of shut down in this town, really, to be honest. So we'll see if we get through all this. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see that? I'm not going to go full on mode, but I'm just going to go through the PowerPoint because I'm going to go back and forth between some other stuff. But this has been my motto this year. Do more in 24 so you can survive and thrive in 25. This is going to be a year of work. And, you know, we made it through the hard part, but I think this is going to be a great year for us. And you just got to get out there and do a little bit more. And then on this risk management meeting, did you know that today is actually Ditch Your New Year's Resolution Day? So how are we doing with our resolutions, Bridget? Did you make any? Alicia, did you guys make any? Did you skip them? I'm waiting for the gym people that made resolutions to not come because they're bugging me. And fortunately, in Chicago, since it's so cold, some of them already scattered this week. What are we going to talk about today? Well, hopefully we'll get through all of this. I brought this one up before, the 7 mistakes you don't know you've been making. We're going to do another review because one of the mistakes, someone I see her face on this call, we had this same conversation this week. And I won't say who it is. She's a sweetheart. But they did say, yeah, I remember that. I just forgot. But that's okay. It's always here just to friendly remind you guys. And then I think I'm going to skip the Broker Bob's Q&A. I'm going to go to the new laws and we're going to do some Burnett Sitzer follow-up. So I'm getting a lot of calls from people that actually don't attend risk management on what they should know about it, the NAR lawsuit, if that's anyway, so let's get into the 7 mistakes you don't know you've been making. I'm not going to go through all of them. But for listing agents, listen up. If you have a listing that gets canceled and you need to get it back on the market or you accept another offer, you need to make sure that on any counter offer that you have on the new offer, that it's pending cancellation of current escrow. Just because you got a cancellation of contract from a buyer, it only takes one person to cancel a contract, but it takes 2 people to determine the disposition of the earnest money deposit. And more often than not, I see sellers get their pants in a crinkle and they don't want to release the deposit, and then the buyer and seller end up in some type of tit for tat for a couple days. So if you go and accept a new offer, make sure that you put in the counter offer pending cancellation of current escrow, as well as making sure that you're putting it in your MLS and confidential remarks as well too. The removal of contingencies with the RR and the 4R. The request for repairs form requires that the buyer remove their physical inspection contingency as a condition of the seller agreeing to repairs. We had this happen this week. However, it's prudent for the seller to require the buyer to remove more than just the physical inspection. Sometimes they might want you to remove everything. And of course, reach out to me because I want to make sure that you're not having any contingencies removed to put the buyer's deposit in jeopardy. So making sure that, and the CR form was updated, so it's pretty extensive this week. Now, so there's a lot of boxes to check on there. So you want to make sure you're checking the right boxes. And yes, if a seller is going to agree to repairs, they're going to want to make sure that the buyer removes their inspection contingency so that they can't come back and ask for more repairs. We just had, unfortunately, a claim made with one of our escrows that were years ago on square footage. And thank God this agent did everything right. And they even have, you know what, a communication log clarifying the square footage in this house. How wonderful. So when we get this thing thrown out of court, we're going to be able to bring this up. But making sure when you put your square footage in the MLS, you cite the source. So this would probably be more important with someone that is telling you, oh, even though the assessor record says it's 1,200 square feet, it's actually 1,500 square feet. Well, you're going to ask, well, where are you getting that from? Well, we did an update in the back. And the assessor records isn't matching the square footage. But you've got to make sure that if you're going to put an extra square footage, that you know that that's truthful. Usually what happens is there's a discrepancy in square footage between when an appraiser comes out and then what might be listed in the MLS or listed in the assessor record. So it's important that you understand who's the source. So most often than not, you should list the assessor record. That's the most safe because that's what's in print from the assessor record. If you're going to go with what the seller states, and the seller stating that it's more square footage that's on there, then you will click seller as the source, but then you also need to make sure that you have some type of email confirmation or in writing from the seller, preferably the SLIC, the seller's listing information checklist that they should fill out, that they're confirming in writing that the source is coming from them and not from you. Square footage is a big contention with lawsuits in California.
Robert, would we indicate in the confidential remarks the difference? Like, would we say assessors states that it's this much square footage, seller saying that it's, or do we do anything like that?
I would definitely, thank you, Corinne, bring that up. You want to make sure in any offers or counter offers, or, you know, even on the your Avid form, you can put it on your Avid form as well too, because it's your knowledge, a material fact about the property that seller told me that there's 2,000 square feet, even though the assessor record says there's 1,800 square feet. So as much as you can have that conversation up front, have that conversation. And let's talk a little bit about communication log too. And I had a conversation with the attorney this week that was consulting me with the square footage discrepancy claim that we've got coming through. And even he and I were laughing about, you know, whenever we have a claim, the first thing that the attorneys that get assigned the case is they want to see the communication log. Matter of fact, we had a claim a couple of years ago where I asked the agent, well, where's your communication log? And unfortunately, this agent wasn't with us anymore. They were only with us for like a month. And his reply was, what's a communication log? Which is why he's not with us anymore, because he didn't come to risk management. No, but you guys know that there's a communication log, and the communication log is very important in any one of your escrows where you have a conversation about something that's a material fact about the property. What's a material fact? Square footage discrepancy, foundation issue, roofing issue. Whatever that conversation is with your principal, mostly your buyer, should not be done in text messages. It should be done in an email. You have the verbal conversation, and you have the email to confirm the conversation you have had and what exactly you spoke about. Because that's what the attorneys are looking for. The first thing they ask for is your communication log. And pretty much 80 to 90% of the time, it's all a text chain communication log that's been cut and pasted into a Word document. That's okay, but it's not better than an email that goes back and forth. So anything that's a material fact, the only thing you should be using your text messages for are like, I'll meet you at the property at 2 p.m. for the inspection. But now you're going through the inspection report and you're having a conversation about what's in the inspection report. Then you should have a written communication in an email format about what that conversation was. And that will help you in any claim. And everybody that's had a claim in the past 2 years with our office has learned, Broker Bob, I wish I would have had the conversation in an email format. I've listened to you tell me that, and I can't go with, well, I told him that, because that's not going to back up in court. And I'm going to sing this until the cows come home on every risk management call, because I want you guys to drill it into your head that an email is your communication log, not your text message, and not something that's verbal. That's not a communication log that can't be validated. Here's what came up this week: providing assurances to clients. And I know, you know, we have contingencies in contracts, and we always tell the buyer, you know, you can still get your deposit back, even if you got these contingencies in place. Get out of that habit of ever saying that to the buyer, because you don't know what the seller will do if they want to release the funds. And we've had this happen a couple times where a buyer was within their rights to cancel a contract, They cancel the contract and the seller gets pissy because the buyer, I guess, didn't like something on the inspection report, or they they couldn't get the loan. Whatever the reason was for cancellation, the seller was getting pissy and was refusing to remove the earnest and release the earnest money deposit on section 2 of the cancellation of contract. And they would withhold the buyer's deposit for sometimes days, weeks, couple weeks, until they eventually got the broker finally convinced them that you have to do this, otherwise you're going to end up in mediation and you're going to be proved to be wrong, and you're going to end up owing not only the deposit, but you could be fined $1,000. So you never know what's going to happen on the other side to guarantee that a buyer will ever get their deposit back. You have an idea, but you never make the assurance that they will. Another assurance is, and we're going to talk, this is the next risk management. We're going to go over fair housing violations and the multitude of fair housing violations that real agents use in their marketing, their advertising, the MLS, even in their conversations with clients. So another example for assurance, and this is a fair housing. If a client asks, is this a safe neighborhood? Well, you can't really say if it's a safe neighborhood or speak to that. You need to let them know where they need to go to find that information out, because a perception of crime can be different from one person to the next. So, and Sal is a really good example of not saying everything in a conversation, but saying just enough to give the information to that person. So, and he knows in Sal's 17 years, not one claim ever with Sal, because he listened to Leona very early on, and he is always consulting with me because he knows he doesn't want to end up in court. And so he's always playing the game about, I only say as much as I know, and if I don't know it, I tell them, but I direct them on where they need to go to find out. Liquidated damages provision. So in the contract, if a buyer breaches the agreement, there's the liquidated damages portion of the contract that basically states that if the buyer does breach the agreement, then the buyer could be responsible for up to 3% of the purchase price. So if it's $1 million home and they put in, 3% of that is $30,000. If the buyer did breach the agreement and the seller took them to court. But here's the caveat. If you're the listing agent and the seller accepted that contract and only put in $20,000, that's 2% of the $1 million, so that's $20,000. The liquidated damages portion limits what the seller could recoup to the amount that's the actual deposit in earnest money. So keep that in mind. If you have a listing and your the seller accepts the contract for only 2% of what the purchase price is, then the liquidated damages provision would only allow them, if the buyer did breach that agreement, to recoup only what was in there, the earnest money. Okay. Countering with highest and best. The seller sometimes signs a counter asking for the buyer's highest and best. Has anybody seen this in any of your counter offers lately? Okay, so be aware of this one. The problem with this language is not immediately obvious, but it will become so when the buyer accepts with their highest and best and then claims that there is now a binding contract at that price. It seems laughable at first, but in fact, such claims have shown up in court. What should the listing agent's approach be? Well, there's nothing wrong for asking the buyer for their highest and best. Just don't put it in writing. Now, this is not an individual offer. Just don't put it in writing. Don't write on a counter offer with the words highest and best. What you do is you call up the buyer's agent and explain that the seller would like to see a counter with the buyer's highest and best. But now, when do you really get highest and best request? That's usually sometimes in a multiple counteroffer situation. So if this does arise, if the seller uses the multiple counteroffer form, then the highest and best language is just fine. since the seller must re-sign any counter returned from the buyer before a binding contract is created. So be careful if it's just you're just countering an individual buyer, make it a verbal highest and best, but multiple buyers, you can put it in the multiple counter offer because then that seller needs to countersign that.
Robert, if we receive a multiple counter that says highest and best, can we respond by saying buyer's highest and best is 760, or like indicate specifically what that is so that there's no question what their
Is it a
highest
multiple counter offer?
in a multiple counter?
Yeah, because the seller is still going to have to reply back with their signed signature on that multiple counter offer.
Okay.
So there's no effect on that if it's a multiple counter offer.
Thank you.
Okay, great question. Thanks, Kareem. All right, here's the other things that you guys don't know you're doing right or wrong. And this isn't just you guys. This is 90% of what market reviews in compliance is taking a listing in a trust, a corporation, or an LLC the wrong way. So you're all excited, you have a new listing, and you miss that the title of the property was held in a trust, a corporation, or an LLC. And so you did not fill out the residential listing agreement correctly, and now escrow makes changes. So it's great that escrow made the changes on the purchase, the contract documents, but the listing agreement isn't valid because the listing agreement wasn't taken in the proper context. So now you have an invalid listing agreement. And here's what pops up a lot, and it has popped up before, where you took the listing in the name of a trust, a corporation, or an LLC, and the person that signed the listing agreement did not have authority to sign on behalf of the trust, the corporation, or the LLC. So what you need with the trust, there's a document within their trust documents, and sometimes they'll say, well, we don't want to give you that. Well, we need it to prove that you have the authority to sign on behalf of the trust. So it's a one-page document. It's called the Abstract of Trust or Certificate of Trust or Trustee Authorization. And this one page outlines the specific powers and responsibilities were granted to this individual, which is often the trustee, to act on behalf of the trust in various matters, including signing documents. But if it's a corporation or LLC, then what you need from that, there's no abstract of trust within that corporate LLC. What you need is a written document signed that shows that the signer has the authority to sign on behalf of the corporation or LLC. That's important because we've had actually listing agreements where there were members of the LLC, the person that signed didn't have the right information to sign on behalf of the trust, and the other people within the LLC all of a sudden decided to sue. And then that was a real mess because the property was on the market in escrow. So please, 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 if you're taking a listing, you go to the assessor records, you look and see who holds title. If it's a trust, LLC, or corporation, you need to have those documents when you get the information from the whoever's going to sign. And then you can also at the list, when you get the listing agreement, you can prepare the representative capacity addendum, the RCSD-S. But word of caution, listing agents always need to check public tax information. And then if it's multiple sellers, they're not in a trust, corporation, or LLC, you see two people, all people that are on title then have to sign the listing agreement. You just can't get the husband or the wife to sign. And then in this document, in this link, there's some quick guides by the way, all this stuff has been emailed out to you by Evie. Thank you very much, Evie. But there's a quick guide to completing the RPA when the buyer or seller is an entity. So, and I'll click on, and there's a video on getting signatures from representatives in a trust or LLC, walking them through the actual video tutorial in your DocuSign. But this will give you some examples of what it looks like for entity buyers and entity sellers. So I won't go through all this for the fairness of time, but click through that and watch some of that stuff. I'm giving you all the information on what you need to do. So there you have it. New laws. I talked about this, but I want to bring this up again because this question popped up in the last few weeks. There's a new flipper law. So what is a flip? A flip is a property where someone went in and rehabbed it and they're going to sell it. So this new flipper law applies to all properties that are resold within 18 months of the previous closing. And all of this stuff will appear, should appear on the seller's TDS. Okay. And it doesn't take effect until July 1st of this year, but it applies to all transactions, residential units, 1 to 4 units within 18 months from the date that seller purchased it. And its renovations or repairs were performed by a contractor with whom the seller entered into a contract. So it makes the seller responsible to disclose any room additions, structural modifications, other alterations, repairs, and a copy of any permits if obtained. Or if the seller contracted with a third party and was not provided with a copy of any permits, the seller needs to inform the buyer that the permits were not may be obtained through the third party and provide their contact information. These disclosures may alternately be disclosed as a list as given by the contractor to the seller. And additionally, where the cost of the labor and materials were greater than $500, the seller will disclose the name of each contractor and the contact information of each contractor is provided to the seller. So you guys are smart buyer's agents, right? Is that a yes? You guys are smart buyer's agents. The industry out there aren't smart listing agents. So you might need to keep that listing agent who has a flip property on their toes because they might not know the rules. But you as a buyer's agent know the rules. That's why I bring this up. It's not so much about you guys not knowing it, you do, but you got to consider the industry out there isn't as well educated and trained as you guys are at KWs. If you don't believe me, ask Mark, because he sees all the contracts that come in from the cooperating brokers. Okay?
Robert, I was going to add something on that. You know, if you're working with a buyer who's procuring a property right now, they're a professional renovator, flipper, whatever term you want to use, it's good to let them know that this law is going to go into effect in July of this year, because in the past, they have been able to negotiate that in the purchase agreement, say, well, the seller was not going to provide any type of receipts or documentation on what they did. Well, now they have to by law. And guess what? Two parties in an agreement, like the purchase agreement, cannot agree to do something that's against the law. So the seller, when they go to sell the property, is obligated by law to do this. So it's good for you to be letting them know about this in advance so that they can be collecting and compiling all of this information so that they can comply when they need to.
Thanks, Mark. And it's also important that you know who the flip person you're dealing with. So, you know, we have a community within our Facebook group. Hey, has anybody ever sold a flip by this company or that company or this person? See, there's a lot of people out there that think they're flippers and they're not. I think most of those have washed out because, you know, people that watch the HGTV on the weekends to learn how to be a flipper, I think a lot of those came out of washed out of the industry. But there's some, you know, there's good flippers out there. You need to know the difference between the good ones and the bad ones. But ask your fellow agents in the community. Okay. And then in relationship to flip properties, we do have our own in-house flip property advisory. And this should be given to any buyer you have and actually not just bury it in the contract. You actually have a conversation with them about it. Mr. Buyer, it's important. We have a flip property advisor, and these are important things you need to know about this offer you're going to make on this flip property. Well, what is it? What's the motivation behind the flip? You know, flippers are there to make money. What is the quality of flip? Unlike some owners who may plan to keep their property for many years, speculators flipping a property are not always motivated to undertake the highest quality or relatively costly remodeling efforts. We used to call this back in the day, putting lipstick on a pig. You know, you can dress the pig up, but it's down inside of it. It looks pretty on the outside, but it's still a pig. I actually like pork. I eat pork, but anyway. But you've got to know, did they just paint and make everything look pretty, but they didn't do anything with plumbing or electrical or foundation or roof? You know, it all looks pretty when you walk in it and people are excited, oh, a new home. But we've had a lot of flip properties, and of course, here's my stat. I'll give you guys this again. 40% of all E&O claims in the United States are originated in California, which is why we have so many forms. 40%. Out of the 50 states, we all have almost half of the lawsuits in the United States. And flips were a hotbed of activity in California, which is why our E&O insurance kept going up and up and up, because our E&O carriers were being bombarded with flip lawsuits because there were so many flippers just putting lipstick on a pig, and then buyers coming and suing later because their house was falling apart. So it talks about the enhanced cosmetics conceal and other potential conditions, and real estate agents limitation. You know, we're not knowledgeable in building codes and permit requirements and inspections. We're not good at that. So, but we need to make sure that they do their due diligence. And then making sure that they do a good quality inspection. And if the inspector does point out something that needs to, you know, you should do a secondary inspection on the roof or blah, 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 that's a material fact, right? And if that buyer says, oh, I don't want to inspect the roof, or I don't want to inspect the plumbing, that's a material fact. You have a conversation in the email per our conversation. You've elected not to go ahead with the secondary inspection. So there's the flip advisory. Use that with every flip that you're going to come across. Finally, we'll end up with the Burnett Sitzer stuff. So here's, and I'm just going to take this off the screen. So here's the phone calls I get, and you guys, and I want this to be a conversation more than a presentation right now about the NAR lawsuits. So here's what we know. So they will be appealed, and the appeal process takes a long time. If you're familiar with lawsuits, the courts move very slow. All that's being worked out. And then you can go on YouTube and see all the things about how buyer's agent compensation is going to be changed, and this is going to be changed, and that's going to be changed. And the general public is hearing it already. And so I'm hearing from you guys, and mostly people that don't show up to risk management or hear the advice we give them, but they're saying, I'm already getting sellers to ask me, do I need to offer compensation to a buyer's agent? Now, who knows if that needs to happen in the MLS? Who knows if that's a yes or a no? Anybody?
The question.
Is it $1?
Do sellers have to offer compensation to a cooperating broker?
No.
No.
No, they don't.
No.
They don't. They could put 0% in the MLS. 0. So you're going to get those questions answered by some sellers if you're out there doing listing presentations. So be aware of that. So it's important to know and go through that Q&A that's linked in the presentation, all the documents that went out. Make yourself aware of what that whole case is about, what it means, what the appeal process, and what has and has not changed. Nothing's changed yet. But what has changed is CAR, California Association of Realtors, were preparing for this last year when they updated the BRBC, the new buyer broker. And there was a whole slew of other documents that came along with that. The ABCT and the SPPP, all the forms. And you need to know how to use the BRBC, the new BRBC, because there might come a day where there will be offer of no compensation in the MLS, which means your VA buyers are going to be in trouble because they can't pay for the seller's required to pay compensation on a VA. The buyer can't pay for it. And then new home buyers, first time home buyers, they can't afford to pay to compensate you. So you've got to understand how to work those forms to present it in checkbox 3G3 in the RPA to present what the buyer is requesting that you pay in the presentation. So what we think is going to happen is a good negotiator, a good buyer's agent is going to probably go out there and be able to make more money if the seller is only offering 2%. You might be such a great negotiator, you might be able to get your offer of compensation bumped up to 3%. Ashley put in the chat, you want to comment on that? Because that's news to me, Ash. I'm not up on that one.
It was news to me too, but I attended an event with Gov Hutchinson, who's head of car legal, on Friday. And the judge in the case that was already determined by the jury has a decision to make to, and he's a federal judge. So even though this is in the state of Kansas, whatever he says will impact the entire country because it's a federal court. The decision that they're waiting for him to make is whether it's his opinion or not that listing agents, it's illegal or legal for listing agents to pay buyer's agents. So CAR is watching it obviously very, very closely. And if he determines that it's actually illegal for listing agents to pay buyer's agents, we'll have to pivot quickly and have new paperwork that says, you know, not the listing agent isn't paying, but the seller is paying. So that's what they're waiting to see what he's going to decide.
Interesting. That's why you guys need to be up on this right now, because trust me,
but they need to know that we're up on it, and so they're in the best spot because there's no way I want all of our agents staying up to date on it. Go sell some houses.
No, I'm talking about the forms, how to use the forms.
Yeah.
Because there's agents out there in the industry that don't even know how to use them.
There were probably 300 people at this event, and I would say more than half of way more than half didn't even know what lawsuit they were talking about.
Yep. Well, wasn't there a Keller Williams event where Gary asked the crowd who uses a buyer broker?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well,
thank you,
We've been
Mark.
pushing it for at least 20 years, and I would say we have a couple agents who still don't use it.
Yeah. Deborah Brown asked in the BRBC class, no, Deborah, I'm not doing an extra class. It's already stored on YouTube. And I've sent you guys ad nauseum in the Facebook group and email that CAR is offering a free class that you can go sign up and register for. So no, you're not getting any more from me, Deborah. But I'll help you. And
that's why we have our evergreen library.
And don't be calling me scared to death on a Sunday night that you're meeting with a buyer Monday morning. This did happen. Broker Bob, I'm meeting with a client and I don't know how to fill out the BRBC. And I'm like, well, what is the conversation because it's more than just putting numbers in a box and checking this and checking that. It's the conversation you're having with your buyer about what will be the element of the contract that we're going to form together based upon the conversation we have. So I can't just train that in a 5-minute phone conversation. I need to know, well, what was the conversation you had with the buyer? Were they willing to pay if the offer of compensation was going to be less? Or are you going to make it exclusive or non-exclusive? Is it only going to be on the broker identified properties? All that so that's why you need to understand the BRBC, because then that's going to craft and form your buyer consultation you're going to have. And it's the ones that are really good at that are going to be able to nail that buyer consultation even better, because then that buyer's going to see value in you. They're not going to see value if you just put a contract in front of them and say, here, sign this. Thank you, Corrine, for dropping in the free class with the BRBC with CAR. It's free, I think, through the end of this month. You just go to car.org and register, and you put in the word free25 for the coupon code. I implore all of you guys to go watch that and watch it over and over and over. Because if you know those agreements backwards and forwards, and I remember when I first took over as broker, I knew Ashley was really afraid that, because Leona knew the contract back and forth. And here I was, the new broker, and I'm like, well, now I know the contract back and forth because now it's my job. But it's also your job as agents to understand the contract too. All right, that's it. We ran out of time. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Besides you being sassy to me. Anyway, wait a minute. So we're talking on the flips with the plumbing and electrical and stuff. So if an inspector sites, we suggest to be, inspected further by a professional plumber or professional electrician. Okay, that I get. That we put that in, that we waive that. But in a regular, if it's just a regular property of a cellar, and that gets called out, roof, plumbing, electrical, and a buyer decides not to get a roof inspector as such, should you write that also?
Yes.
Yeah.
On any property, anything what's a material fact, you guys? What's the definition of a material fact?
Right.
There's
That
a
was the question.
section,
A fact that affects the desirability of a property.
Ding, 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 Corinne, she got the exact explanation, yes.
there is a
Anything that affects the
section,
desirability of the property.
there is a
Go ahead.
section on the buyer inspection waiver, so I think it's section 4, where the buyer was told that the primary general inspection called out a supplemental or an additional inspection, and they chose not to do that. So in section 3, they can elect to not have a property inspection, termite inspection, but in section 4 of the BIW, they can waive their right for supplemental inspections identified by the primary general inspection.
I've never done that.
Surprise.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
now Mark loves the forms, which is great. You got to have the form, but the lawyers love the communication log. And that means an email going back and forth with their principal. That's going to be a lot stronger than them signing a form, because their claim would be, oh, well, I signed that form in DocuSign and it was just too many forms. I didn't really read it. But if you got an email that validates a conversation going back and forth between you and the buyer, that's a lot stronger in a claim, because now the buyer acknowledged in their email communication back and forth that, yeah, we did have that conversation. So I can't complain to you that my foundation is falling apart because you told me to get it inspected and now it's falling apart, and I can't blame you. Let me go after the seller though. Okay. All right, you guys. Happy Wednesday. It's good to see some of your faces, and those that have your cameras on, I really appreciate it. And those that don't have your cameras on, I'm assuming you're in your night clothes. We'll see you in February.
Have a great day, y'all. See you next
You-
week in person.